Hi everybody, it's me Hatsy, and today I am back with another speed build. So this time we are going to be rebuilding one of my past creations, which I did a very long time ago, I think about 6 or 7 months ago, but I'm not sure. But I feel like I've improved a lot since then. So if you can't tell by the title, we're going to be rebuilding Hogwarts specifically. I am very excited to share this version with you because I feel like this version does the build a lot more justice than the last one I did. I really do like the last one that I did, but there were some mistakes that I did on that one that I shouldn't have done. And I think where I went wrong is I focused more on the interior, and I feel like doing the inside before you do the outside can be really problematic sometimes, especially with building, or at least that's the way that I think so. Of course, everyone's going to have a different way that you build, but for me, I find it easier to do the outside first and then focus on the inside. So I thought with my recent builds, with doing Beauty and the Beast Castle, with doing Elsa's Frozen Castle and other massive builds, I thought I'd have a go at this. Now, it was really odd because on the same day, I actually built Rapunzel's tower. And it was so strange because the tower that's part of Hogwarts, I believe it's Gryffindor Tower, but of course I don't know because I am not that sure on what's in the books, what isn't. I'm no surer than last time. I didn't know a lot of information last time, and yeah, I've looked up some stuff, but I have no idea what the tower's specifically called. But anyway, it's exactly the same size as Rapunzel's tower, which is insane because I think Rapunzel's tower probably took me about half the time just focused on that tower. So what you see me building now is that. It's absolutely crazy. But yeah, I had a lot of fun and I had 2 pitches in front of me. So I had one of the interior and one of the exterior, and I found them really helpful. So I do want to thank every single person that gave me advice from the last speed build that I did, because on the video I feel like there was a lot of constructive criticism, which I really do appreciate. It is always nice to get people's opinions of how I could improve for next time, and I just found it really helpful, so thank you. And I did use a lot of advice that I got from the last 3 parts. This actual build isn't going to be in 3 parts, so if you're wondering how many parts it's actually going to be in, it's going to be part 1, and then I'm just hoping that there's just going to be a part 2, just because it's a lot smaller and I feel like I'm a lot faster at doing interiors, and I just don't feel the need for 3 parts. So part 1 will be exterior, part 2 will be interior, so I'm excited for that. But yeah, so lots and lots of little things like where the teachers would have the staff rooms. Of course, never to include electronics in Hogwarts. That will not be appearing in the interior. And also little parts about where the common room should be, was just really helpful. And of course, I did use that advice for the exterior. It was incredibly helpful throughout, and I thought it went really well. So at this point, I decided to cut out all the basement. And the reason why I did that was because I wanted to go back to the bits around the build, but I really wanted to focus just on the build at this point. I found it to be the most problematic thing just to focus on the build rather than focus on what's around it. So that's what I did. And if you're ever stuck with basements and stuff, if you actually want to do a build like this, which is a little bit elevated, or at least looks elevated, so it goes down a long way and it goes down into the basement and stuff, I would honestly say that if you're struggling with basements, just cut it back, because for Hogwarts, that's what I had to do. Usually I don't find it a problem because I just really build as I go. And with smaller builds like Beauty and the Beast Castle was not as big as this. This is huge. So I really had to cut it back, and I had to just focus on what I was doing at this precise moment. But what I really like about this, and what I'm going to be very excited to show you, because I'm going to be doing a tour of it as well. I'm going to be doing like a walkthrough tour of the build, and I am so excited for that, because I haven't done a walkthrough tour in a very long time, and I just feel like with this build, doing it at night and actually showing you what's inside it as we walk through it, I'm just really excited for it. So yeah, I think this build has pretty much everything apart from Hagrid's little cottage, or Hagrid's house. And the reason why is because I looked at the floor plan of everything. Turns out Hagrid's house is like past some forest and stuff, or at least it was on this floor plan that I saw. So I thought, well, if I was ever going to do a Hagrid's house, surely it would actually be behind this plot. Because if I was going to put a house onto this plot that was separate, I just feel like it would ruin it a little bit. So I thought, why not? Like, if you want me to do a house, then of course I can. I can do one on the plot behind this, and we could have a Hagrid's house, and you could use it. This build also has Quidditch though, so I was very excited to start adding the Quidditch Pitch, which you will see soon enough. I felt like a lot of work, a lot of time and effort actually went on just adjusting the rooms and making sure that they were scaled down to the right proportions, or at least as accurately as I could make them. So that took a lot of time in itself, but I did have a lot of fun doing that. I really enjoyed getting the floor plan right. It's also going to be in my new Witches Let's Play, or at least my Witches Let's Play. I keep calling it my new Let's Play, but it's really not. But the idea is that this is going to be a very important feature that the witches are going to go to occasionally, and also the wizards, and yeah, they're going to have fun at Hogwarts. And I feel like eventually I do want to use this as well for a purpose of a Let's Play, so hopefully I'll be able to do that, but at the moment it is going to be in my Let's Play Witches, and it will be like a rare feature. Maybe some parties and things. I would love that so much, because I just think that maybe going to school with the witches and wizards at some point would just be really interesting, and maybe they would come here for some reason. Anyway, this was the Quidditch pitch, so I think I was talking about it before, but I really can't remember. This was it. So I actually came back to this as one of the last things that I did. I actually really wanted it to look like the Quidditch pitch. So I actually played the Harry Potter game whilst I was quite young. I think it was about 12 or something. But I specifically remember that there was like a Quidditch pitch that we had to catch the golden snitch and all that stuff. So I remember playing that game on the PC, and it was one of my favourite games growing up. I loved it, and back then the graphics were just amazing, or at least from what I had known from then. And I think then after that I went into The Sims 2 and other games. But yeah, I loved simulation games. It wasn't exactly a simulation because it was a story game all the way through, and you couldn't really have that much control over what Harry did. It was really just following a storyline, and even though it felt like you were having control, you really weren't. But I loved it, and that's where I got a lot of inspiration. So I actually looked at the exact Quidditch pitch picture that was in the game, which was really interesting. And of course, Peeves was in the game, and I love Peeves. I'm actually going to be doing a create a sim very shortly of the characters. So if you have any characters that you'd really want to recommend for it, like if you'd want me to do Harry or Hermione, or maybe some not so obvious ones, like maybe a teacher that no one knows about or something, then yeah, just let me know in the comments, because I can definitely look them up. I mean, I might not know the most information about them, but I could definitely have a go. But there will be people in the comments that will know a lot more about Harry Potter than me. It's just the fact that I really wanted to rebuild it. I wanted to do a build of it in The Sims for you to all use, and it's a build that hopefully Harry Potter fanatics and other people that appreciate Harry Potter and really like the storylines and stuff, you can use as well. So I'm really hoping that it's accurate enough, and I feel like it's a lot more accurate than the other one. But anyway, I used some restaurant stuff pack wallpapers in this build as well. So you may notice that it's got a really nice brick colour on, or at least I think it's quite nice. I was pretty happy with the brick colour that we got with the restaurant stuff pack. So we get some brick colours that look like they've maybe been a bit aged, and I loved it, and it really suited Hogwarts, because I felt like in the last one it was just too dark. And looking at pictures of Hogwarts in the daytime, even though it's really dark at night and all you can see is these beautiful yellow lights coming out of it, but no, with this one I just thought in the daytime I still wanted it to look like Hogwarts. So yes, that is why I put it in this colour. I feel like the colour does it justice. Anyway, I was putting on the roofing. So the roofing took me a while. I wanted to get the roofing on before I went into specific details of making diagonal piece of roofing. So that's what I would say. If you're doing a massive castle or something and you are really stuck, you're doing too many things at once, I'd say just get the basics done with, get the roofing on, and then you can go back to it, because that's what I did. And for the actual tower in the end, the tower is, I think, a little bit better than it looks already. It's got some complicated roofing going on with diagonal pieces and stuff, so I enjoyed doing that, and that was definitely something I liked. I was also asking my husband for advice on what he thought of the castle, and I think he seemed to like it, so I was pretty happy with that, because he does approve all my builds, which is really nice. And what I was also doing is I was putting on some of that really cool roofing, the one that looks like it's been broken down a bit. I love it, I really do. My old house used to have this roofing that was a little bit aged, just like that actually. It wasn't so safe though. I'm pretty sure my parents had to keep repairing it like once a year, because there'd be like problems with it and stuff. There were always leaks in my house. I don't know where they'd come from, but we would just wake up, I mean, pretty much every single month or so, and that was it. You know, we'd find another leak, and I think it was just because of the roofing. The roofing was so old and so many problems would happen with it. But anyway, on to the Quidditch pitch. So the Quidditch pitch, I used some bathroom tiles, strangely. I wanted to keep with the whole tent look, and I was really happy with that. Personally, I love the tents in Quidditch, and the Quidditch places you can actually sit at, so you can have some fun on here. Of course, you can't actually play Quidditch. I mean, maybe there's a mod for it. I doubt there is. Maybe some really clever person has made a Quidditch mod. I have no idea. But yeah, so the Quidditch places, it does resemble it a little bit, and you can actually sit down with the Sims in there, and you can actually have some real nice screenshots there just hanging off the side. I always say that, but they're not really hanging off the side. They could just be by the wall bit, and they could see the massive view below them, which is really interesting. And we can't have broomsticks and stuff, of course, but I still like the idea of that. Also, I am going to be putting in some bird houses. I actually forgot to do that, so I will do that in the next part, in part 2. And as well, if you do have any ideas for part 2, let me know in this part, because when this video is released, it's when I haven't done part 2 just yet. Sometimes I do part 2s before I even put out part 1s to YouTube, but no, this time I'm going to wait for advice for everyone to fully confirm what you want in, any further ideas, and then I will. So that will give me a chance to be able to include as many ideas off all of you as I possibly can. Now, the entrance of Hogwarts is a very strange thing. And I got this completely wrong the first time. It basically goes down as a slope, and I really like the idea of that because it's different. It's just very higgledy-piggledy, and if I was thinking about how a castle would look, then it definitely wouldn't have stairs, but of course, it's The Sims. We can't have slopes. We also can't have much when it comes to transport, like, I don't know, stairs and stuff. We can't have spiral staircases. I would have loved spiral staircases, and that would have definitely helped in this build, but we can't have that yet, unfortunately. But what I did do is I eventually made it look a little bit like a slope, I guess, from a distance. If you maybe squint your eyes a little bit, then maybe it looks like a slope. I have no idea. I did put a little outhouse. I believe that's what it's called, but I don't know. So there is a little house at the bottom, and it's got like a little roof on and stuff, but because we can't build roofs below the basement level, I had to improvise and make my own roof, which I was pretty excited about. So that's how the outhouse turns out. I think that it looks pretty nice, and it will look quite nice when it has like a little chair there as well. Maybe someone will be sat down there. You could even put like a little troll down there, or maybe, I don't know, a goblin or something. I know that some people are pretty keen on making like fantasy type creatures in The Sims 4, and I love that idea personally. I read this really odd thing a while ago that somebody basically made a family of trolls or family of goblins. And what they did with that family of trolls or goblins is they put them in a basement. They made them very good at art. They had everything down there. And then they moved an ordinary family into the house who had no idea that the goblins were down in the basement. So they would get this ton of money every single month just coming through just from the paintings that the goblins and trolls were making. And that's how they made their income, which is insane. So you could definitely do that. I would love to see what you do with Hogwarts in the end. And if you do have any crazy storylines, just let me know. You can always let me know over Twitter, because I love to hear what happens to my builds after I put them on the Sims 4 gallery. And of course, I love to see when people use them on YouTube as well. You know, just tag me and let me know if you're using them, because that is always really helpful for me. It really makes me want to create more stuff. So yeah, if you do that, let me know. Anyway, I was piling up the rocks at this point, so I hope you like rocks, because there's a lot of them. And they're actually chairs. I did do this in the last Hogwarts that I did, but the rocks are a lot bigger, so I feel like these are going to be less problematic. There has been a recent update which has interfered with the rocks slightly, and it basically means that on live mode, if I tilt my screen to look directly at Hogwarts, some of the top rocks disappear. I don't know why it does that, but I think it's just a glitch with The Sims 4. Unfortunately, there seems to always be glitches. Like, as soon as they get rid of a glitch, there's always another one. And that's just how it happens. But there are so many, and you have to have Outdoor Retreat to have this effect, unfortunately. If you don't have Outdoor Retreat and you still really want Hogwarts as a creation, then what you can do is you can replace them, or at least you can take them off if you wanted to as well. That's another option. It just really depends what you want to do, but they definitely look better in this exact way with Outdoor Retreat. And I feel like with the normal rocks, it would have just looked a lot messier. But of course you can try. And if you do replace them, let me know, because I'd love to see how it would look with normal rocks used on it. I actually spent a lot of time going over the rocks. I think the rocks themselves probably took me about an hour and a half of building just throughout the build. So I really spent a long time doing the rocks. So the actual build itself took me about 3 to 3.5 hours. A lot of that time was just placing the rocks, but I wanted to make them look as neat as possible because they were very important, and because Hogwarts is supposed to be on a cliff, I really wanted to emphasize that. And I really like the idea as well of having this Hogwarts in another place. If you didn't actually want it here, if you wanted it in maybe the center of Windenburg, you could also have it there as well. And you could have it maybe just in the land. And I think it would still look accurate because it's still got the dip that Hogwarts has. It's still got the water and the features and stuff. And yeah, it could definitely fit in. I'm really hoping that eventually we will get more 64x64 plots. I'm really looking for a mod actually. And I don't know if anyone else knows anything like this. Or if you're a mod maker and you really want to make something like this, then let me know if you're working on a project like this, because I could definitely do with this thing. But anyway, the thing I'm going to talk about is the fact that I would love plenty of 64x64 builds all next to each other, because I'm thinking about doing a Disney Princess Let's Play eventually, and I really need a mod like that. So if you know anyone that can make a mod, if that's even possible, let me know in the comments below, because that would absolutely make the Let's Play. Because I could have all these plots, I could have all the 64x64 plots all together, and all the princesses could live on them. I could also include Hogwarts as maybe like a meeting place or something, because I want to be able to use Hogwarts as much as possible just because I love it. I really do love it. I think that it's just a very magical build, and for me it's part of my childhood as well, because growing up I had a sister, or at least I still have a sister, that is absolutely obsessed with Harry Potter, and she used to watch the films so much. So I used to come down in the mornings and that's what she would have on TV. She also used to have the Harry Potter books, and she actually had a very limited edition Harry Potter book a while ago. And it was one of the first books to be released, and it had a special character on the front of it. Now, I don't know what the character was. I feel like it was Dumbledore, but I don't know, because it was a really long time ago. And anyway, I think only about 300 of these books were released. So yes, they were very important books. They were very limited edition. And she just really, really looked after this book. And she had it for, I think, about maybe a week. And she was so careful with it. And one day she sat down at the table and she spilt ketchup all over it, and it went all over the character as well. It was the most unfortunate place, the most unfortunate landing that ketchup could have had on the book. It was awful. But anyway, my mum went mad. She was really angry with my sister. My sister was really upset. Anyway, she got a new book. It wasn't the one with the limited edition, because my mum felt like she needs to learn a lesson after that. She was like, you're not having any more limited edition stuff. That is it. So yeah, she never had that book again, or at least she still has it, but it's still got the ketchup down it. And I feel like some of it's unreadable, but I really have no idea. I'll have to ask her, of course. But if you have one of these books, let me know, because it's really interesting. But anyway, back to the build. At this point, I was putting in the trees. I feel like the trees really did make Hogwarts at this point, even though it's got no windows on it. I think it's probably got one window on it, if that. But I felt like when I put the trees in, it made it feel a lot more like Hogwarts to me. So I loved the idea of that. I also put loads and loads of roof pieces around the roofing, and I know that Hogwarts doesn't have that much roof pieces or that many roof pieces on the build itself, but I actually used my imagination on that part, and that was because I wanted to make it look very over the top and very castle-like, and I thought with putting in extra roof pieces it would definitely do that. Now, what I did feel like in the end was the gold didn't really go very well. So you'll actually see me change all these individual roof pieces after I placed them all on. So it's not even like I knew that the gold looked bad as I was maybe midway doing it and I could have changed it. No, it took me an extra 30 minutes just to change those pieces around, just because I wanted it to look as accurate and as perfect as I possibly could make it. So I spent a lot of time doing that. And I feel like the roof pieces look a lot better being in like a grey bluey colour, because it does match the build and it matches the roofing, so it doesn't really stand out that much in the end, which I'm pretty fond of. But yeah, so the build itself, a lot of features that it does have are actually from the Sims 4 Get Together. And of course, the build is actually based in Windenburg. So if you don't have the Sims 4 Get Together, Unfortunately, as far as I know, you won't be able to get the build, and that is just because of the plot. The plot is really, really big. We don't have a base game 64x64 plot. I think it's really unfair. I wish we did. I wish we had like a massive plot that everyone can use, because there are some builds that I do now, like the big Beauty and the Beast castle, the big Elsa's Frozen castle, and my other creations that I honestly just could not have put on a smaller plot. A 50x50 just wouldn't have done it. And I feel like if you are imaginative, creative, you want to do big builds yourself, why not have a 64x64? It just makes sense. So I hope that in the future they will put one in that's maybe base game, but I don't know if they will. I was expecting that they would have one with maybe Newcrest or something, but we never got it. But I am so excited to do the interior. I want loads of haunted places in the inside of it. So I want it to be as accurate as possible. I want to put loads of pictures on the walls, like moving pictures from the Spooky Stuff pack, all that kind of stuff. So if you have any ideas, just let me know in the comments and I can include it all in. Or at least most of it. Now is on to the lights. The lights are really important when you're building. So if you do builds like me and you want to be able to make them stand out more, I'd say add lights if you haven't already. And sometimes I do need to take my own advice because it's really easy to forget. It's so easy to get overexcited and just put the build on the gallery and then think, oh, I forgot the lights. Because I've done that before. I did that with my witches' houses and I regret it like a lot. But yeah, so I definitely didn't want to do it with Hogwarts because I feel like Hogwarts does look its best at night. Of course, I don't know if everyone's going to think like that, but I just feel like it does. I feel like it really stands out at night. It looks very spooky. Also, you may be able to see a draft of Rapunzel's tower in the background there. So that's that. And that was just because I was moving it around a lot. I think that it looks pretty good here actually though. Maybe I'll have it next to Hogwarts. Maybe it would just be a very fairy tale world. So it'd be pretty interesting to have them both together actually. I think one of the last things that I did was add some of these lovely fountains. I really like the idea of just having natural water. And I feel like when the Sims will be able to use the front entrance, they'll actually be able to see the water and see all that sort of stuff. Because I feel like Hogwarts would have a waterfall running down it. I could have actually put a waterfall in, to be fair, but I didn't. Also wanted a boat because I would definitely imagine the pupils to arrive via boats. I believe they do. I believe it's like a train, then a boat, then walking. I honestly, I don't know. But if you know, let me know because of course, that would be really interesting, but I just love the idea of having a boat. Maybe it would just be some random goblin or something. I'm obsessed with goblins, but maybe it'd just be some random character just going around the school. Maybe someone like Finch or something. He's not a goblin, but maybe a Finch type character just patrolling the outside. I don't know, it'd be pretty interesting. I was finished with the outhouse as well at this point, and I was actually onto the Quidditch pitch. That was really important. Now what I wanted to do is I definitely wanted to make sure I did the Quidditch pitch on the exterior of the build because it is the exterior. I mean, some of it does count as the interior because it's got some furniture inside and stuff, but I thought, no, I will just do it on this part and that will be fun for me. So that's what I did. Now, I actually got a proper picture up online of how it's supposed to look, and that's what I tried to copy here. Now, I didn't actually include the Quidditch rings, so if that's something that you really, really want me to include in the interior, then let me know, of course, before part 2 comes out, because when part 2 is out, I won't be able to include any more ideas, unfortunately, because the video will be already done. But if you do have any ideas, if you did want them there, let me know. Of course, I don't know what I could include for the Quidditch if I did want to. The little golden snitch thing, I don't know if I could include that as well, but I could have a go. There are loads of hidden objects that I seem to be using a lot at the moment, which I really like the idea of. Of course, I did want to finish with some flags. I should have probably put the flags being odd colours, and maybe I'll do that when it comes to doing the interior. Maybe I'll just switch them around slightly, because then they can actually resemble the houses slightly. Of course, not a lot, but maybe it will give some sort of look to the outside being that way. And I feel like maybe these areas would have a lot more seats in, but of course we didn't have that much room to put in these little boxes. So they each end up with just one sofa. So I like that idea. I think that adding a sofa to each of them is enough. It's enough if you want to have maybe the Sims have maybe a private chat in these rooms or something. I don't know if you'd want to do that, but if you do, then of course you can. I would also imagine that under the Quidditch pitch will be the getting ready part. It will be the part where they're all preparing the locker rooms, things like that. And I'll try and make it as accurate as I possibly could. Because what I'll do is I'll actually rewatch all the films before I even think about doing it so that I can make it as accurate as possible. But anyway, that is the end of the speed build. So I really hope you enjoyed it and I hope to see you all future videos. Thank you so much for watching and I'll speak to you all soon. soon.